Ole Miss is about to beat Georgia for the second time in a row, and we have the answer key before Saturday's test.
You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Ole Miss podcast, the most watched Ole Miss podcast out there. I'm your host, Steven Willis, a 10-year veteran member of the national media with Yahoo Sports and a former Ole Miss staff member as well. On today's show, we're going to break down my final prediction for the Ole Miss Rebels versus the Georgia Bulldogs and highlight a few prop bets that we're keeping an eye on in this massive SEC showdown. Next, we'll take a look at some of the key players that need to step up on Saturday for Ole Miss to pull out this win and what matchups could make the difference. But first, Lane Kiffin seems to be channeling his inner Nick Saban after a string of grinded out wins and including a struggle win against Washington State, just completely yelling at his team. All the while, in a similar situation, Kirby Smart is just dancing on tables after a struggle win against the Auburn Tigers. This feels like a game that Ole Miss expects to win and Georgia just kind of hopes to win. But this is Georgia we're talking about, so it could be a completely different team on the field. It wouldn't surprise me at all if Georgia was just clicking in this game. But if you look at the analytics and the stats going in there, Ole Miss kind of compares favorably. All of this and more on today's Locked On Ole Miss podcast. Remember, we're free and available on all the podcast apps and on YouTube. Thank you for making Locked On Ole Miss your first listen every day, and a special hello to the insiders and everydayers who make this show what it is. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download that app today. So this is a Georgia game, and I know we're all conditioned to what Georgia has been. This isn't that Georgia team. Now, they're still good. They're still one of the top three teams in the Southeastern Conference. They're still one of the best teams in America. So we need to put all of this in context, what's about to happen. I'll put it like this. Georgia is the only team on Ole Miss's schedule to where if both teams line up and play their absolutely best, Ole Miss loses the game. This is the one team that has a talent advantage on the field over Ole Miss. That is the reason Ole Miss is a 7.5-point underdog according to FanDuel right now. But if you look at some of the things surrounding this game, Georgia struggling on third down, field position, pass defense, Georgia being down their best potential safety in this game. The offensive line for Georgia struggling with injuries to get going, even though some play a little bit, they are kind of a mash unit right now. That probably explains all of the jubilation for Kirby Smart after the Auburn win. It's probably something as simple as that. But when you look at two struggle wins, because Georgia is clearly a better football team than the Auburn Tigers. And in the first half, they were getting dominated, absolutely beat down by the Tigers until they let that fumble or no fumble on the goal line completely wreck the rest of their game. Georgia fans are going to tell you, hey, we only gave up 30 yards in the second half to Auburn. Yeah, but they quit. It was something to where they just kept fumbling that ball mentally. They were such a mentally weak team. And after that, Kirby was celebrating like a coach that honestly didn't expect to win that game. Very un-Georgia-like. On the flip side, Ole Miss had a major struggle win against Washington State. I'm not going to defend any of that at all. I've told you what I think happens. I've told you what I have heard happen. But after the game, there was just a quiet locker room. They were ticked off. Lane Kiffin came in and yelled at his team, channeled his inner Nick Saban to let them know this is not the standard of Ole Miss football. We do not do this. This is not what we built this program on. And everybody looked locked in, ready to go. I can imagine this week of practice was intense. It was really intense. It was Ole Miss doing what they need to do. It's not just that they're playing Georgia, the number 9 ranked team in the country, on their home field. It's not just that the college game day is the game of the week in college football right now. It's the intensity of, hey, we didn't meet what we normally do. And when they meet what they normally do, they can play with absolutely anybody. The problem that Georgia has with this Ole Miss team is when they're on, they're going to score points. When they're on, they're going to keep teams from scoring touchdowns. And if you're kicking field goals and Ole Miss is scoring touchdowns, you're going to lose the game, and it doesn't matter which field you're playing on. Georgia has had trouble getting off the field on third down. Teams are doing an excellent job of staying on schedule against the Georgia Bulldogs. The defensive grades of this team pass-wise, not very good. Defensive grades on third down, not very good. Just like everybody likes to point to Ole Miss's rushing yards, and me included, because that's one of the keys for this game, stopping the Georgia run game. It's the simplest game of the year. Stop it or else. It's a statistic that everybody's focusing on, but I just listed 3 or 4 that you could focus on Georgia the same way. Listen, these keys are actually the best keys that I've done this season. This is the simplest game of the year for Ole Miss. If you stop the run, you're going to win. And with Kam Franklin and Will Eccles and Xavion Harris, Prince Willamon Mielen, Suntaran Perkins, those guys up front, I think they can stop the run against Georgia, at least to the point where it's not always just 2nd and 6, 3rd and 2, 1st and 10, 2nd and 6, 3rd and 2, 1st and 10. That Georgia offense stuff, you need to get them into 2nd and 8. And I think Ole Miss will get them into 2nd and 8 some. The other thing is Lane Kiffin's big game composure is going to be a major factor in this game. No, get your popcorn ready moments. No, wild going for it in your own territory. Keep the field long for the Georgia Bulldogs because offensively, they might be efficient, but they're not explosive. And in the sport of college football, usually whenever you have to do 10 to 15 play drives, there are going to be penalties that set you back and you end up having to punt the football. And this is the one game where Lane Kiffin gets to play the underdog card this season. Play it. It's fine. Georgia is the gold standard in college football over the last 5, 6, 7 years. Play the underdog card. If you do that, you will be in good shape. Listen, I'm pretty excited as this week goes on. I was kind of in the middle on my prediction. Now, my prediction, I did not change this time. Last week, I bumped it up. This week, I did not change the prediction. But when you look at this, as the week goes on, I feel better and better and better and better. Now, there could always be a Trinidad Chambliss playing in Sanford Stadium in front of 90,000 people just kind of having a freak out moment. That's possible. Until you see him in that environment, you can't say it's not. You can see the environment having an effect on Lane Kiffin. You can see Kirby Smart dominating the officials like he does and like he did against the Auburn Tigers. All of that stuff is possible. Is it likely? I don't know. I think that Kirby Smart is about to play the best or second best team that he's gone against, depending on how you feel about Alabama. I think Alabama was able to light them up throwing the football. I think Tennessee was able to light them up throwing the football. I think they've been lit up throwing the football against anybody that can throw the football effectively. There's certain concepts that they're just struggling with right now. It's very un-Georgia-like. And because of that, I think Trinidad Chambliss, if you're smart, if you use him correctly, if you game the defensive backfield of the Georgia Bulldogs, you have a new safety. Get his eyes wrong. Side to side, orbit motion, all of that stuff. Run your jet sweeps. Do all of that stuff to make life on the safeties hard. We always talk about when Lane Kiffin's offense is functioning and really clicking, they're torturing linebackers. Well, the safeties are also involved when you're playing Georgia Bulldogs because they want to boa constrict you on defense. They want to start the safeties at 12 and get down to where the safeties are playing at 8, to where you just don't have any room. So this is going to be a tough ball game. It is. But this is a game that Ole Miss can win. if you look at all the statistics and what's going on. But there's certain ways that you're going to have to go about doing this. And we will talk about that in the next segment as well. So, listen, it's a bit poetic symmetry, really. Last year, 2 years ago, Georgia got healthy for one game against Ole Miss in 2023. And of course, Brock Bowers came back. Their offensive lineman came back. They were completely clicking on all cylinders. They had a full strength defense. Their roster was amazing. That was one of the better Georgia teams that have been over there. And they 50-burgered Ole Miss. But this year, it's a little bit different. Ole Miss is healthy, like straight healthy. Like the only player that contributes even a little bit on the availability report is quite either questionable or probable, and it's Logan Diggs. This year, the Ole Miss's roster is deeper. This year, Ole Miss has real momentum heading into this matchup. We talk about that all right after this. Listen, it's almost the weekend. It's time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every single Saturday with DoorDash Streak, saving more every time you order. These players delivered when it mattered the most. Let's break it all down. For the Ole Miss Rebels, Kam Franklin delivered in a big way against Washington State. He was a menace on the line. He had 1.5 sacks in that game, and you're starting to see a defensive end grow up. This guy's going to be a really good player, and this wasn't a fluke. Kam Franklin is on a streak. And just like Kam Franklin delivered for the Rebels, DoorDash delivers for your Saturdays. With DoorDash Streaks, you can save every Saturday you order, stack up all season long, and you can save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period runs through November 18th. And when the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with Supply House. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times help keep you from punting projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. Need parts fast for a project? Supply House has next day delivery. Talk about a game changer there. The Part Finder tool and 3D schematics can also save you hours on your job, where every detail matters. Their Trademaster perks like priority shipping and dedicated support make the whole process smoother. Join the free Trademaster program and score some serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and a dedicated support line. Visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use the promo code SHCollege5. That's all one word, SHCollege5, for 5% off your first order. That's Supply House, real people, real service. Do us a favor, like, subscribe, and comment on the video. Subscribe on the podcast and whichever audio podcatcher you're listening to, and give it a 5-star review. It costs absolutely nothing, but keeps all of this on this page right now free. And Locked On is getting ready to change the game yet again, all in the name of having fun following your team. It's all coming in December. Pardon the tease, but we're going to tease it over the next six weeks or so. So don't forget to check out a second listen on the network. Nearly every team, college or pro, is ready for you. So tune in for that. Now, this is an interesting game because Trinidad Chambliss is obviously a player to watch in this game. The three players that I'm going to have my eyes on is Trinidad Chambliss, Kam Franklin, and Deuce Alexander. Those are the three most important players in this game for me. Trinidad Chambliss, just the road start in Sanford Stadium. If he makes it through, calms down, if he doesn't get rattled at all, because we still don't know. We haven't seen him in this environment, what it's going to look like. I think it's going to be fine because every time he's come in, he's been fine. But it is going to be imperative on Lane Kiffin to get him in the game with some easy type stuff. Trinidad Chambliss with his legs. On the first play, I would call quarterback power. On the second play, I'd call a screen pass. I mean, that is how I would function in this game to get him ready to go. Trinidad Chambliss, top 10 player in the Heisman voting right now. If it happened right now, if Trinidad wins this game, he's going to be in the top 3, top 2. So this is a big moment for Ole Miss as a program, a big moment for Trinidad Chambliss, and it's against a team that's gettable. Now, they're going to be tough. It's going to be insanely hard to win the game, okay? Don't get me wrong, but they are gettable, and that is because they do not have the most dynamic offense, and you mix that with a defense that's just been second half good, makes it problematic for the team. You can get them. If one of those units do not show up in a ball game, you can beat Georgia this year in ways that you couldn't in years past, if that makes sense. But Trinidad Chambliss is one of the players that I'm going to be watching this game. The other is Kam Franklin. We always talked about how Ole Miss needs to stop the running game against Georgia. Georgia and Oklahoma are the 2 toughest games left on Ole Miss's schedule. They play football entirely different ways. This week is going to be very run-centric, especially running quarterback with Gunnar Stockton, and there's some very athletic jets at wide receiver that Ole Miss has to worry about. But for whatever reason, Georgia at this point has not been a very explosive team. Kam Franklin stopping the run to prevent it going 2nd and 6, 3rd and 2, 1st and 10 over and over again as Kirby death marches you down the field. It's going to be important for that Ole Miss defensive line. I talked about in the preseason that Ole Miss will go as far as this front 7 would take them, and this is one of the games. If Ole Miss wins this game, if Ole Miss can find a way to pull out a dub in this game, they are now a favorite to make it to Atlanta. They are now a favorite for a bye in the college football playoff. They are now a favorite in the entire SEC to go against Alabama or A&M or whoever's on the other side. At that point, it doesn't matter. Ole Miss is exactly where they want to be going into Georgia, and with the win over Georgia, they can be exactly where they want to be, period. Listen, everybody's going to say, well, against Washington State, they didn't look good. Yeah, they didn't. They looked terrible during Washington State. It was awful. That's the reason Lane Kiffin yelled at his team. But Auburn and Cam Newton needed a last-second field goal to beat Kentucky. Players, whenever special season happens, there's always plays and games that are iffy that you didn't see coming. In 1998, when Tennessee made their spectacular run with T. Martin, it took a fumble by Clint Sterner trying to brace himself on the football on the ground. Weird stuff happens in football games, and one week does not lead necessarily to another. They're all kind of self-contained things. And Ole Miss has not shown a trend at this point, other than maybe explosive plays in the running game, which is the one thing that we're worried about. So we will see how it looks for Ole Miss moving forward. Now, what we're going to be watching for in this game, how will Trinidad Chambliss look in front of 90,000 at Sanford Stadium? And I think a minimum of 8 wide receivers for Ole Miss needs to catch a pass in this game. When you look at Ole Miss, they have 5 receivers over 200 yards receiving, all of them having a touchdown. None of them having more than 20 catches, all of them having more than 13. Some over 20 yards per catch average, some's just a little bit below that, some's a little bit more of a physical presence. When you look at the Georgia Bulldogs in the pass game, yes, Zachariah Branch has 27 catches. A lot of those are on bubble screens, if we're just going to be honest about it. Then Colby Young has 22 catches. So they have 2 wide receivers over 20 catches and over 300 yards. But that's kind of it. London Humphreys has 13 catches for 165 yards. He did make the big catch against Tennessee. That was honestly pretty close to half of that yardage total. Dylan Bell's averaging, 5 yards per catch. Cash Jones, he also has 11 catches. He's got 94 yards. So this is a Georgia offense in the pass game. It's kind of 2 people. There's not a Brock Bowers. Lawson Lucky and Oscar Delp are good players, and they can hurt you as tight ends but they're not really used that much. So we'll see exactly what it looks like. We'll see if Ole Miss can contain this pass game. We'll see if Ole Miss earns the right to rush the passer. Gunnar Stockton's a mobile quarterback in the vein of a Jake Retzlaff, more so than a Taysom Hill or Taylor Green. Sorry, not Taysom Hill. That's the Saints. So this Georgia game offensively, if you earn the right to rush the passer, get after him. And last week against Washington State, yes, I realize it was Washington State, but they pass protected pretty decently over the course of the year. They had 3 sacks against Washington State, had 4 in the previous 5 games. Defensive line is coming along. So we'll see exactly how that looks for Ole Miss moving forward, honestly. In our final segment, we are locked in on what to watch for when Ole Miss faces Georgia, because this isn't just another matchup. It's arguably the biggest game in the modern history of Ole Miss. Seriously. Guys, you've probably heard of Viagra and Cialis. Maybe you've even tried them. But if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rougiette Go Long. That's exactly where Rougiette's Go Long comes in. It isn't just another ED pill. It's a total game changer for confidence. Go Long combines 2 doctor-trusted medication in 1 dual-action formula so you can handle your business. The effects can last up to 36 hours. That's confidence all single day, all night, and even into the next day. The process is simple. Connect with a board-certified doctor, 100% online, and if prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly right to your door. Ready to level up your confidence in the bedroom? Head to rugiet.com and use the promo code LOCKEDONCollege for 15% off your first order. That's rugiet.com, promo code LOCKEDONCollege, to make sure you use our code so they know that we sent you. Also, the NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you do not want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. Right now, pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love how FanDuel gives me so many different ways to play, from parlays to player props. I've even followed live lines during games, but it makes watching football even a little bit more exciting when you have a little bit riding on the action. Whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much easier. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. All right, so it's time for our final predictions and props for this game. The line is not moving, and this is concerning if you're an Ole Miss fan, honestly. The line is Georgia favored by 7.5 points, even though Ole Miss is getting about 80% of the bets right now and about 65% of the action. Whenever that happens, it's not foolproof, but you feel like Vegas might know something. Those tall buildings are there for a reason. But the thing that tells me they did the same thing to LSU a year ago. It didn't quite work out. They did the same thing with Florida a year ago. It didn't quite work out. So we'll see. The line's not moving, even though the bets and the money is coming in on Ole Miss at the moment. This is going to be a big game for Trinidad Chambliss. One of those Heisman level games to where if you win this game, all of a sudden you've got resume bullets with wins over LSU and Texas, not Texas, over LSU and Georgia. And at that point, you need Georgia and LSU to start winning some games. So we will see. Trinidad Chambliss currently 85 of 130, 1,286 yards, 7 touchdowns, and a pick. The pick wasn't his fault. It was one of those volleyball set up that got intercepted, and the receiver got both hands on the ball. But that is going into this game. That's going to be a major player to watch in this game is Trinidad Chambliss. So my prediction for this game, I'm not coming off of it. It's going to be Ole Miss 21, Georgia 20. I think Georgia scores a touchdown. Listen, this is kind of me like betting on green on roulette. So pay attention. Georgia scores a touchdown that would make it 21-21. If they kick the extra point, they go for 2 and they don't get it. It is one of those, hey, let's bet on green. Let's have a little fun with this. But I think it's going to be a very tight game. It's not going to be more than one score at any point during the game. It's going to be at a situation that you have to pay attention to every little bit of the ball game. Any mistake gets you beat against the Georgia Bulldogs in this game. Any mistake for the Georgia Bulldogs gets them beat for the Ole Miss Rebels. Is this the game? Is this the game? Now, it is kind of hard to say because once you're 6 games into a season, it just might be what you are, at that point. But is this the game where explosive plays happen defensively, turnovers happen? Ole Miss has not done a particularly good job forcing turnovers this season. They haven't. Is this the game that you get 2 or 3? Is this the game to where you can tilt the field a little bit? Is this the game to where you can feel good about where everything's happening because you're getting short fields to score on because Georgia is the team that is turning over the ball? It's not likely to happen, but is that something that happens? Is this the game that Trinidad Chambliss freaks out in front of that environment? There's so many unanswered questions in this game. It would not surprise me at all if Ole Miss won this game 31-10. It would not surprise me at all if Georgia won this game 31-10. It also obviously would not surprise me at all if it was a 24-21 type game. So I'm going with 21-20. Ole Miss gets the win, and they turn that last corner because that's what this win would be. The last corner turned, where all you have to do is take care of business, and you're exactly where you want to be. Because if Ole Miss beats Georgia, if Ole Miss gets the win on ABC at 2:30 on Saturday, Ole Miss is a favorite to go to Atlanta at that point. Ole Miss is a favorite to get a bye in the college football playoff. Ole Miss is exactly where you want to be. Listen, there's going to be a whole lot of smoke coming through. People on social media being loud, essentially. But they're going to talk about Lane Kiffin. Is he going to go to this job or this job or this job? Why? Why would he go? If you realistically say, why would he go? You will get the answer of whether or not he's going to be there. He can win a national championship at insert school. Well, he's number 5 in the country right now. And with the win over Georgia, he is a favorite to win the SEC. He is a favorite to get to the college football playoff and make a run at that point. Okay, school X so-and-so can pay him so much money. He's making nearly $10 million a year at Ole Miss. There's, 9 coaches that make more money than him? And I'm going to tell you something right now. He would take a little bit of that extra money that you would bribe him with to come to your school and put it in the NIL fund. There's no reason for him to leave. So, Ole Miss fans, when you listen to what's going on, ignore it. It's a nothing burger, and it's just a habit over the last couple of years of what's going on in the coaching search. So, thanks again for making Locked On Ole Miss your go-to source for Ole Miss sports. We pride ourselves in offering the most comprehensive perspectives, which is why we're the front door of Ole Miss. So don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. It helps the show, and it is completely free. Your support means the world to us. And another big moment for Locked On, college football fans. Locked On and Fire TV are presenting College Football Kickoff, your ultimate college football weekly preview. Drake Toll of Locked On Big 12 leads the conversation alongside 2-time AP Coach of the Year, Gary Patterson, former college star Jesse Holley, and Locked On's local expert. A college football preview only Locked On can do. Catch College Football Kickoff every Thursday throughout the season, only on Fire TV. Hotty toddy, everybody, and remember, analytics is just the old English word that means bad football. We'll see you tomorrow.